Today on the Everything Food podcast, we're talking with a chef who has been shaping Cincinnati flavors for decades. Chef Catrina. Beena Mills is an executive chef, a culinologist, and a spiceologist, and a teacher who has touched almost every corner of our city's food scene, from Jim and Eddie Bakery to Taste the World in Cincy. Her spice line, she brings technique, culture, and personality to everything she touches. How you doing today, Chef?
Well, thank you.
Okay, now I know a whole bunch of other people know, but we want to know who is Chef and how you get here. How you got here? What was your journey to Chef Beena?
Well, my journey, it started off kind of the old school way. So my family, my mom, my mom and my grandma, they had all done catering and had restaurants. I grew up in Chicago. So that was just what I grew up in and what I already knew. My mom, she used to do catering for like Jesse Jackson and the city and things like that. And I was the helper. So, we started off like that was cutting and chopping. It was before stuff was pre-done for you and all that. And I just came up that way. And I just happened to be good at it. Like I never planned on it. I wanted to be a lawyer. I did this. I went to the military, but it always came back to food. And so then it just evolved into me just continuing to learn. So I'm always trying to, get knowledge in and continue to learn. And so then I just started to expand it, and I went to culinary school so that I could, have the legitimacy and things like that. And then that expanded into the culinology program that was new. And so I did that. And then I just went from there. And in doing all that, I was still working at the VA, the medical center. I'm having kids, married. So it was just also just life experience, right? And having been fortunate enough to have traveled and lived in different places in the military, and just growing up in like two great food cities like Chicago and New Orleans to begin with. So I've always been around great food. I've always loved it. Had to, just had to do it anyways. And it just came to be where I decided this is who I am and this is what I should be doing. And it just happened, that the time happened. It doesn't even feel like it's been 30 years of doing this.
Right, I get that. So how do you balance being a chef, teacher, and a business owner?
That is hard. So now, I learned late, and many of us do, right? Learning about that work-life balance and feeling empowered to really just set some boundaries. And so I really decided I had to do that. I'm fortunate enough that I can have a little bit more freedom to do that because my kids are grown and I really just can control my schedule. But it's still difficult because I'm a perfectionist. I like to see things through. I'm always in mommy mode. I'm always in teacher mode. So I always want to help people, and sometimes we talked about this a lot. We care about the business more than the owners do sometimes, and we throw ourselves into it, and then that's where we lose that work-life balance and just have to kind of take it back. And I've even had a couple of times where it put me in the hospital, and I was like, look, you easily replaceable. We know that. I gotta start taking care of me and making sure things are working out for me. So it was a chance to it was some time getting there, but I want to be in a position to keep other people from going through that, to understand and help with just kind of teaching them, we go through it and make the mistakes so others don't have to. So I don't want to see other people go through that. So that's kind of, I'm focused. I want to make sure I get other people, these young people coming up, to understanding that.
Yeah, because you will get burnt out, and most of the time, the person who hiring you just wants more, 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 and
Yeah.
they don't see, the bags under your eyes,
Whoa,
your
right?
knees buckling. I got family too. I'm human. I'm not AI. I'm not a robot. I want to go to a concert. I want to go out to eat.
I miss
I
out
want to
on
get
so
drunk.
much, right? Yeah, we miss out
Yeah,
on so much of life. And then in this industry, the peak times are the holidays when everybody's partying, and the busy times, the weekends, and when
we
but
working.
we're working. Yeah, so I try to make myself. I was like, I'm gonna go to some concerts this year. I'm gonna make sure I do this, and I'm gonna live life. And it's still
Right.
hard. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah. I buy clothes, and I have intentions on wearing them and getting dressed up and going somewhere, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I've been had that for 3 years, and I never put it
Yeah.
on. I never went anywhere because I'm the go-to when it's time to party. When it's
Right.
time to have
Right.
an event and get together. This is a question I've been dying to ask somebody, and I feel like you the perfect person to ask this question. food scene? Has it got better or worse?
So here's where I get a little bit of controversy, and people know this from me in circles. Like, I'm the one that stands up and says what nobody else will say. Cincinnati is it thinks it's a really great food city, but it's not as great as it really is. It's not very diverse. The people, if you haven't been out of Cincinnati or Ohio, a lot of people don't really know good food, and they haven't traveled anywhere. So I think it stays kind of stagnant, and then like you see all these restaurants pop up, and the food is still kind of the same. The concept is the same, ideology is the same, and so you just have a lot of options of just the same thing instead of really exploring and moving out. And so people that don't travel, their palate is not, refined in some cases, or just they're just not familiar with things because they haven't had those experiences, which I mean it is what it is, but I think I really wish people would travel and think globally, or even be more open to trying different things. A lot of chefs and restaurants here had tried to do different things to open up people's palates, and it just didn't go over well. So I really would like to see that change, but it's going to take the whole chef community here collectively to do that. So we're working on that. But people just, we got to get them to try new things, and that would
Right,
help a
right.
whole lot. And a lot of them don't listen to people like us when we're trying to tell them, and say,
Well,
hey,
yeah,
yeah,
they don't want to listen.
they
So
don't listen.
now, this is my take on it, especially in the last 5 or 6 years. It's what you said. I mean, you couldn't have said it more perfect, but also it's too congested in some areas.
Mhm.
If I walk down in a 2 block radius, if I see 15 restaurants and four, 6 places that sells glasses and 9 places that sells bikes, I can only eat there so much. I don't care how much money I'm making. If I don't have kids, if I'm making $350,000 a year, I'm not going to go in that restaurant consistently enough to keep it open.
Right.
To keep it open, and I
And
think
but
that's the reason a
key
lot of them
point
fail.
is OTR, right? Like OTR is you can't fit anything else there, and they've even expanded going towards the West End, and studies have shown that people don't want to go that far outside of the OTR area to dine. They want to stay in the downtown area and around that area. So there's not any more you can do or put in OTR.
Right, right.
Yeah,
It's like trying to put 2 feet in one sock.
yeah,
I
it is.
I can
And it makes
only I'm
it
only going to spend
difficult.
so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then you got the parking, the congestion, the other stuff that's going on. It is, it's a little, it's just too much, yes. And that's
Okay.
a city thing, right? So, yeah.
Okay. So this, and I've watched you. I've been a fan of you since we met. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Likewise.
And quit because you know your shit. You know what you're doing. You move a certain way that's professional, and it's not. You're not just flailing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not just flailing, throwing stuff out there. This is stuff that maybe it takes a chef to recognize it. Maybe it takes
Yeah.
somebody that's really into the industry to recognize it, and I do. So, and sometimes I do it. So that's my next question. Is it a pressure to constantly innovate while also honoring the traditions of what we do?
I don't think it's a pressure. I think it's kind of like a read the room kind of situation. So you have to pivot for whatever demographic you're dealing with at any time. And not everybody can do that. Me and you, we can do that, right? But a lot of people, they only have one lane that they're good in, and that's some things that are a little bit stifling for the upcoming chefs and some of the professionals out here, that are doing it. They may feel like, this is all I know. And so they just kind of stay there, but they're afraid to innovate. And then some just can't. There's just some people that's just not their thing. But from the public, there again, the palette is a little bit one dimensional here. So you don't even get the opportunity to really, stretch your stuff sometimes,
Right.
unless you get a client that is open to that, and that doesn't happen very often here. I would, I want to see that and push that. That so it's not pressure, but it is a little bit more frustration.
Yeah.
Not being able to do that and just introduce people to so many great, foods and ways and experiences.
Okay. So on to piggyback off of that, your new consultation. Explain that to us.
So it's kind of three pronged. So one, I'm moving into. I want to. It's not really directly culinary related, like traditional chef stuff, but I wanted to start reaching into the community and doing programs and things that are. It's going to focus on kids and the family, but get that healthy component in there. Learning how to eat, learning how to shop, learning how what diets are, what cuisines are, and things like that. And the second arm of that is helping restaurants that are already doing their thing. A lot of them, they got the cooking part down, but they missed the business side of it. So helping them make sure their business is set up, their structure, some existing businesses, but more like the newer businesses, entrepreneurs getting started, get your taxes stuff set up right. Make sure your licensing and everything's. So
with the
those
health
things are
department and
yeah, those are hard to
serve
navigate
safe
when you
and
don't know that, and then they miss out on it, and then that also can lead to them missing money or either spending too much money, not controlling like waste and things like that because they don't know. I still see a lot of entrepreneurs, they shop retail. They go to Kroger and Walmart and things like that instead of setting up vendor accounts and being able to maximize
Chef
that.
Warehouse, Restaurant
Yes, sir.
Depot,
Yes. So
GFS.
right. What they have to realize is the stuff that's open to the public, that is not the food service side of stuff. So they need to have these accounts set up, learn these companies, learn what they offer, get, your reps and your vendors and create those relationships and things. That'll help them save money and have access to more a variety of things too. And those are the things that they get in trouble with when the business is failing because they don't know how to cost out their menu, cost out their recipe and things like that, the money side of it, the
Right.
business side of it. And then the third arm is there's a lot, this is a thing. A lot of these restaurants are nasty. I just have to say it. Kitchens are nasty. But and they're failing their inspections or they're just barely staying open. I can go in and help set up a program that's sustainable to get them compliant and train their employees and set up a program where they can stay on track and make it a daily thing, a way of operating so that they don't have to keep failing these inspections or getting dinged for simple things or things that they don't know about or look at. So that's the other side. So those three things I really want to start getting into. So it's newly launched. I want to get clients and the third part with the compliance and the inspections and stuff, that's a little bit harder because people don't want to ask for help or admit they're that's something they need. So
Or
I don't
they
know.
don't want you to see the tore up kitchen.
They don't, yes. And the part of that is just, that totally confidentiality there. Not, we're not putting nobody on blast. Nobody has to
Right.
know. But we just, gonna get it together. And so things like that, it's like, like this is a safe space,
Right.
so those are the things, and then physically, I just can't keep working that hard in the kitchen. That's why I move into this too. Is that physically, I just, my body is done with running a whole kitchen. And sometimes, as we talked about too, you have to sometimes staff don't show up, don't call in, or you might not be able to schedule your staff because your labor, because your revenues are down. So you have to like say, cut somebody or not have them come in, and you got to do everything yourself.
And you
And
got to do it because you the
right.
chef.
And so those are the things that I've done. And, like I said, it put me in the hospital because I'm just doing, over, killing myself. And I said, I just can't do it anymore, but I can still be in the industry and help. And it's time to cultivate the next generation of cooks and chefs
Yeah.
and staff and things like that because one thing, the industry's not going anywhere.
No, it's not. It's like I always tell the analogy when the guy on death row and he's getting ready to die, and the last thing they ask him is what you want to eat. So it's like an oxymoron because first of all,
Yeah.
it's a waste. You're getting ready to kill him, but hey,
But food is always a factor in everything.
everything, because it has so many tentacles to it. I mean, people are taking the food now and making fabrics and, biofuels and all type of
Right,
stuff.
right.
So, it serves a lot of purposes for a lot of different people for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
So the spices, talk to us about the spices. Let us know. We want to know
So
all of it. We want to know
know
all
how
the good stuff.
man, it started where you know how you like just cooking in the kitchen and you pulling down a bottle of this, you pulling out a garlic, you pulling down the salt, you pulling out separate bottles and stuff. And I was like, I'm tired of grabbing all these different bottles. So I was like, I'm mixing all this together. And so that's how we started, right? Just like I was just like, I'm mixing all this together. I'm tired of reaching for all these bottles. So I did that. And then it just started to be with my friends. We would always have our get-togethers and parties and things like that. And this was in Chicago. And I would just use that, and then they started liking it. They were like, you should market this. I was like, oh, okay, maybe. But then it got to it, they was like, we need some more, I need some more, I need some more. And then they was like, so here's a funny story. I was in the business industry with the Red Hot people, and they saw that my friends were talking about I put that shit on everything, talking about my seasonings, and
Right.
that's where that came from the hot sauce, where they said I put that on everything. Stole that, and
Oh,
I was like, oh well, you know, we onto something. I mean, like I didn't. They were just it wasn't nothing I had marketed or turned to, you know,
right.
trademarked anything. But I was like, okay, so people are watching, people paying attention, and it just
Uh-huh.
started. My friends, and next thing you know, it was like, greens. They were ordering. They were trying to copy one of it, and then you know, a lot of people were talking about it and stuff. And I was like, okay, well, this is thing. So I just started creating different blends. The unique thing about my spices is that every one of them has some kind of international or exotic blend in it.
Right.
So it's proprietary. I'm not gonna tell, but that is what makes it different. And most of them are low sodium or sodium free. So they're very different from what you get in the store. But you know, people love it. Even the Upundo Estates girl that does the farm in Georgia, that she has her videos. I sent her some, and she was shouting it out and using it in her videos and stuff. And people were like, "Where can I get that spice from? Where can I get?" So I was like, "Okay, okay." She was like, "This is the best I've ever had in my life." You know, she was talking about the garlic blend, and then her son, he has his own thing. He's is cooking with autism, and some of the dishes he was cooking, he used it. He was like, "We really like this one, and it's black owned." And I was like, "Hey, now," I was like, "Okay, I'm on this thing." So, yeah, so I'm pushing that, and then I just do. I have meals too. I have a website for meals, like meal
That's
prep
right,
with,
because you're doing the meal prep.
any kind of meals. Yep. So, I just can't see myself just like doing just one thing, but
No.
I'm not overextending myself either. But you know, we still got bills to pay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and it's getting
And
harder.
more coming up. Okay. So how do we get in touch with Chef Beena?
Um,
Give me some links, give me some phone numbers,
The
barcode,
easiest
whatever.
way. So I do have a QR code and stuff I need to start putting out there. I keep forgetting about it. It's from my website, but the best way is through social media for real. So on
Okay.
Facebook is just my name, Catrina Mills, Katrina with the C. And I can never, people are like, what's your Instagram? I can never remember my Instagram. Because you know, that's the young people, they really they
Right.
really on the Instagram.
Uh-huh.
But all my social media is linked. And then just email me at tastetheworld1@gmail.com. I don't necessarily give out my phone number because I'm
Okay.
usually not in a place, you know how we are, ours,
Yep.
just what we're doing. It's always too loud to answer the phone. So I never ever tell somebody to call me because I'm probably in a somewhere I can't hear you if I answer the phone. I'm always like, text me, but just the email or social media. Social media is the easiest way because we're always on, we're always checking and phones, and you know, they got the messaging and
Yeah.
stuff. Yep. And
Because
then
most of the time my
Cincinnati,
phone is on silent
yes,
because I
yeah,
can't hear.
it's hard to get you sometimes too. I know, like we
Yeah.
miss each
I,
other. We miss each other all the time when we're trying to
yeah.
yeah. So
I
yeah, I
can't
keep my
hear it
phone.
or I'm in the middle of war.
Yep, 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 yep. Exactly. That's our life, chef life.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, well, we got a big thanks to Chef Catrina Beena Mills for bringing her flavor, her story, and her legacy to the table. Her work reminds us that food is history, science, culture, and heart, all in one. Stay curious, stay hungry, and keep questioning everything food. Thank you, Chef.
Thank you, chef.
You're welcome. Hope to hear from you soon. And I need to get some of them spices. I actually got an
I
event
got
coming up
you.
soon.
I
Okay.
got you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All
Love
right.
you. Talk to
Love
you
you.
later. Bye
Bye.
bye.